All right, well, I guess get going. It's 2 after 10. So, Heinipi, Hanach, Hini Katagiwi. It's good to see everybody again. Welcome. We have, looks like Ineki Mani. It's good to see you. Or maybe I should say Dr. Lee. Congratulations. I haven't seen you since then. So, he just was awarded his doctorate not too long ago. So, it's awesome to see. And I also see Nick is joining us again and Barbara. It's good to see you guys. So, welcome aboard. Manu Kadazing, why do you keep muting yourself? I'm gonna unmute you here. Oops. There we go. All right, now I got
there you
go. I got you. So, welcome everybody. It's good to see everyone again. We're going to have a short Zoom session with our eminent speakers. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions, or there is anytime ask questions. I think with so few other participants, we can go ahead and unmute the crew. You guys good with that? I'm fine with that. I don't think Barbara, Nick, or Inekimani are going to get out of hand, so I think that'll be fine. All right, so just so you guys know, you're all unmuted. If you do have questions, feel free to throw them out there and ask. So for our eminent speakers, I guess I'll start off. This week's module was about introducing yourself and being able to say what your name is and ask what somebody else's name is. And it also delved a little bit into your Ho-Chunk name, English name, and birth order name. So I guess I would ask they all muted themselves again. So I guess I would ask my judges who are with us on the line, if you would, please introduce yourself, I guess, with your English names and your Ho-Chunk names and your birth order names as well, if you wouldn't mind doing that, just so they can hear us from an eminent speaker saying that.
Ainepe any karagiwi. My kadera Elliot ga ingaide. Nanga Ho Changrajra Nigesh ke Wang Shigrajra Ahusaka ingaide. Egi Hagaija wow nangshan. Ekono ningre ki Horohana Hagaga ingaide shuno.
There you go, Kira. My Haderajra Cecil ga ingaide. Hena Hijawa Umokshana. And when I was 4 years old, was when I found out my name was Cecil. Prior to that, I'm a Hena, so that's what they called me, Hena. Henaga, Henanga. And our entire family was addressed that way. My Degas, they called them by their birth order names. Then we had a Choka and a Kaka, so Chokaira and Kakaira. And then our nannies were there. So I had nannies and Degas that were at the house. But they were all addressed by their birth order names too. We had a Kuno, Hena, and a Haga. The Haga's right there. I'm the Hena. And a Kuno is 1 year older than I am. He's not here. Started at the mission probably. But then as we grew older, my dad had us named at Feast Lodge out by the swamps at the homestead. And that's the place that most of us were named. A name can be given by an elder or a female elder also. War veterans have earned that right and have come back and are able to give names to the clan members, young people. It's where we were named. My Ho-Chunk name is Wachanaji. Wachanaji. Standing on a boat. Standing on boat. That's all it means. It doesn't mean much to many people. But one of my judges, the oldest judge, the oldest brother to my judge, gave us our names, gave me my name in a feast lodge. And that referenced the Pacific Island assault. And they were on landing boats, and Lieutenant JG that was steering that boat to take them to the island edge never flinched, stood upright all the way in, although the bullets were smacking around all over the place. And that's the courage that he mentioned, and he tied my name to that. And you know that on top of that landing craft is high up, there's a little bridge where the steering wheel is. And so that's where my name comes from, standing on boat, watching the ship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if there's any, you're still looking for questions, remember to put them in with the chat box. You heard him, there's a Hina and a Hagai there. Mishke Hinaija Wow Nunction. I'm also a Hina. And one thing I heard Jaji Elliott say that when he was little, they used to call him Haga, but I guess I'd want to throw it out there. And have you noticed, even when you were growing up, though, that even after you have your given Ho-Chuk name or people start calling you by your English names, that birth order name kind of sticks? I mean, other than your license plate, have you noticed a lot of people over time, they still call you by your birth order name, even as you grow older and are an adult or as you're an elder now?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I hear people calling me that all the time, especially the relatives that I grew up with. That's all they call me is Haga to this day.
I still call him that when I talk to him. It's just automatic.
Was it always like that? Do you remember when you guys were younger? Were there older people that were being still called by their birth order names?
All my Dagas were called that. Kono, Hena, Haga, Nahi, and my Nanis were the same way. Eventually, they did cross into the English names once they became known. Well, they were known, but utilized more as we progressed into the English world. But yeah, Weha and Siga and Hinake. Talk about them. Makaka will talk about them. Hinakega, Haksigaga, Haksiga Khonoga. So that's what we heard constantly. Now, still holds. I mean, I still know who they are.
Yeah, I think that was prevalent because I remember moving when we finally moved to the mission. I noticed other families were calling each other those birth order names also. So it was a pretty common thing. Apparently, all families did that. Well, I shouldn't say all. I'm sure there was some exceptions, but that's all I ever heard people calling each other within the family. Were their birth order names.
I think that still holds true even now. I know anytime that's grandma usually called me Hina when she was around. If she said anything, it was almost always she called me Hina more than anything else. Even birthday cards or cards she would send would say Hina on them. So she rarely called me Henning, and I don't know that I ever heard her call me Huanchete. I think it was always Hina. So yeah. I have a question though too. Like when we went over the birth order names, we talked about there's the four firstborn sons and four daughters. But what do you do when you go beyond that? There are some big families back in the day. There's still some big families now. So like, what do you do when you have the fifth and the sixth son or the fifth and the sixth daughter? I know that's a question that comes up routinely, actually.
Well, I know from my experience in our family, like we say, we had nannies, a bunch of nannies, it seemed like, living across the creek that I grew up with. And, you know, there was Hinu, Wiha, Aksiga, Hinanke. And then the fifth one was my nanny Catherine. And I remember that distinctly because I don't seem to remember ever calling her Haksigachunu, which is what she was because she was the fifth daughter. But I remember growing up, well, starting when I was a little kid, I used to call her Sachunu. I suppose because I couldn't say Haksigachunu. So when I was growing up, even then, she was always Sachunu to me. That's what I called her, and she, you know, and she answered to that when I would call her. I never got criticized for it or corrected for it. So whatever it was I was calling it was acceptable. And then I don't know why it is, but um, with the males, it's a little different. The fifth boy is called Narichono, or it's shortened to Naichono. And I don't know how that came about either, but that's the way it is. They're not consistent.
Speaking of shortening, have you heard Haxiaga used
Yes.
in your experience?
I
Yeah.
used to hear my choka call one of my nannies that, the Aksiga.
Uh-huh.
And that's how he would refer to her. For
Haxiaga.
instance, he would say Haksiaga Jaskehi. I don't really
Mhm.
know if it was only in the context that he said it that way. I never really noticed that, but that's how he would refer to her.
There were other families that went beyond that to Hinakechanu. So they were mentioned in discussions that they were talking about someone who was a Hinakechanu. So from beyond Haksigachanu, he went to Hana Hinakechanu. And then it goes smaller. Hinakechanu, Haksigachanu. I don't know, but I think there were families that had a bigger number of children, and I think that's what it might have had because it wasn't uncommon. But I think vaguely I remember. I do know that Hinakechnu was used, mentioning somebody in Wisconsin Rapids. So that's probably how it went. Now beyond that, I wouldn't know. I don't know if it's on record in any place. But we know who we're talking about, so they did, the old people. It's interesting. And that's all we heard till I left home for first grade. I was learning English at that point. Trying to. I'm still trying to learn English.
I guess at this point, I'd open it up. Are there any other questions from our inspector crew or from out in the audience there as well? I see a chat coming in. Inekimani has a question. Hang on. I'm just going to unmute you. If you don't mind saying it out loud to everybody. All right. Oh, yeah, you're on.
Inekimani ka hingaide.
Hmm.
I remember hearing if you say someone's name who's passed away, you say Wanarida. But how does that go into that statement? Would you say their name ga higaide and then Wanarida? Or
Yeah, as long as you acknowledge that they are gone, that they are on their journey, that's acknowledging that. If you just simply say their name for whatever reason, you are calling them back for whatever reason. If you feel guilt or whatever's going on, we don't call them back. If we mention them, we just simply acknowledge that they are gone on their journey. That's how simple it is. I have an animal on the table.
Yeah, so I guess I just remembered in the context of like, if you would, when we would introduce ourselves, we would maybe say like, you know, who your choka was or something. And, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you would say the name and then you would use the term wanarira is basically what it is. One of the other things that I've heard, and I suppose there's differences of opinion on that also, is you don't refer to them as wanarira until 4 years after they're gone. I don't know if that's a steadfast rule either, but I have heard that.
Good question. Thank you.
Well, I have a question. So we have birth order names, Kuno Hinahaga. So I'm just wondering, like nowadays, some people have like 3 Kunos. Is that, or would you call them Kuno, or would you call them Kuno Hinahaga? You know, does it matter? Like they have different parents? How does that go?
Yep. I have 2 Kunos, so with a different woman.
Mhm.
And so that's still my Kuno. And even maybe a Hena. But that woman, if that's her first child or 4th child, that's what she goes by. If that's her Nahi, that's what she goes by. That's simple too.
Mm. Yeah, I know that question comes up sometimes.
Yeah, it depends on what they are too. If that's your firstborn son with that woman, and that's your firstborn son. But if it's her 3rd son, then to her it's her Nahi. Or excuse me, Aga. That's all it is. Yeah, it could be confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have also heard that the term kunu kunu, like you're talking about,
The next one.
apparently it's the younger of the 2 konos. I don't know
Okay.
what you would call the 3rd kono.
Kuno. Yeah, we have, like with Hikyo, he is my Kuno, and then with Khatap and I, we have Hunk Chi. So when he was born, we call him Kuno. And then, and you know that because he was in the daycare at Wahoche Klinga. But then after that, once they got their Ho Chunk names, now we just call them by their Ho Chunk names. Hey, Josh. Tiny P.
Are there any other questions out there? Sorry if people can hear my kids arguing in the background. So. All right, well, if there's no other questions, sorry, Josh, I don't want to cut you off, man. So, but trying to keep the videos a little bit shorter. But again, if there's questions, please feel free to ask. There's not so many participants that we can't unmute people, so we're happy to do that. But otherwise, reach out to us, email us your questions if you have them. And then remember that tomorrow we are going to have 2 Zoom sessions again at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. And those Zoom sessions are going to be for practicing what we went over in the module. So just like last week, we're going to go over some activities, some exercises, model the pronunciation and asking different things. So people get a good feel and get some time to practice and maybe self-assess a little bit on what we learned in the module. And we'll have those links posted as well in the morning. But if there are no other, I'm trying to talk slow. But if there are no other questions, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for jumping on. Again, it's good to see everybody. And thank you to my judges again for coming on and for helping us out and providing wow, a lot of deeper understanding to the information. There's always a lot more to know than just the words on the surface. So it's nice that you're able to provide some and dig deeper for us. That's really, really helpful. I learned some things today as well, so that's great. But yeah, so if that's it, that's all. All right, so I hope everybody does well. Thanks for coming on. Josh, hey man, reach out if you have more questions. Definitely we'll get you. So it's good to see you though. All right, so Regon Kita, Ani Chuck
Hey, Chuck Joey.
All right, I need to check
Joey.
Joey.
Oh.